My husband cheated on me with my sister, and it seems they're expecting a child. She got pregnant, so I want a divorce. My sister, Sarah, is so naive it's hard to even have a conversation with her. Law is impartial, and those who harm others need to pay accordingly. I intend to make sure they pay fully. I'm Catherine Miller, and I work in a real estate company. I married Bob when I was 27. We had been dating since our college days, and I felt our life was quite fulfilling. Honestly, if I do say so myself, I don't have much of a feminine touch. During my time in sports teams, I learned about hierarchy and relationships with seniors, and it equipped me to handle situations better, which has been a strength in my sales job. Surprisingly, this sporty, not-so-feminine me had a boyfriend in college and never thought I'd get married after becoming a working adult. Bob Miller and I became close after taking the same class in college, and that's how our relationship started. We kept dating. I worked in sales at a real estate company, and he started working as a temp at a local government agency. I'm so glad we both managed to find jobs. I've been wondering, Bob, why did you decide to work at a government agency? Were you interested in it? Nah, it wasn't really about that. I just thought I'd like a laid-back job. I didn't quite get where Bob was coming from for a moment. I mean, I'm not the sales type, and I thought working as a temp in a government position might lead to a permanent role down the line. So, he chose his job on a whim? I didn't know he had that kind of mindset. Back then, I saw this new side of Bob in a positive light. That's interesting. Though we work in different places, let's keep pushing forward. Despite the challenges of adjusting to our new working lives, our relationship was going well, and then he proposed. Catherine, will you marry me? Yes, absolutely. I never thought proposals like the ones in movies would happen in real life, so I was overwhelmed. I've been able to stay on top in sales in a male-dominated company thanks to Bob. I'm pretty committed to my job, but daydreaming about having kids with him and living a fun-filled life has been a recent pastime. As usual, while having lunch at work, I received a text. The text was from my older sister, Sarah. Sarah was the exact opposite of me, the embodiment of all things feminine and delicate. We've always been different types, but we're very close. How about afternoon tea at a hotel next time? I also want to celebrate your recent award at work. I had just told Sarah about receiving an award for being the top salesperson for the year. The joy of enjoying fancy pastries while catching up with my dear sister. Our conversation shifted to Sarah's love life while enjoying our tea. You know, my boyfriend recently took me on a drive. He made a custom playlist of my favorite songs, and it matched the beautiful scenery perfectly. That's sweet. Where did you guys go? Though it seemed like a normal story, something felt off after asking Sarah. I had met Sarah's boyfriend a couple of times before, but I didn't recall him being like that. Didn't he come off as a bit of a nerd or something when I met him last time? Did he get a makeover? It's been a while since you met him, so yeah, he probably changed his look. I remember you complained about him being a bit unreliable. Did you guys work things out? Huh? Did I say that? You might be confusing him with someone else. Regardless, I was just happy to see Sarah so content. Lately, Bob has been mentioning that he's had to work a lot of overtime. Until now, I used to leave work on time, but recently, I've been getting home around 9 or 10 p.m. Additionally, Bob used to always let me know before heading home, but now sometimes he doesn't even call and just takes the last train. When I mentioned it'd be nice if he'd let me know because of dinner arrangements, he snapped at me. What can I do? I'm working hard as a group employee. I understand working late, but I'd like you to keep me informed, like before. I don't have time for that. This is where it gets decided if I can become a regular employee, so stop nagging. I remembered Bob being a bit hot-headed, but was he always like this? Anyway, I decided not to push any further to avoid further conflict. Around that time, Sarah told me she had something she wanted to discuss. I thought it might be a good opportunity and suggested grabbing a drink at a new bistro in town. With Bob coming home late recently, we can go out for evening drinks. I heard there's a new place that you'd love. Well, I have something going on in the evening. How about afternoon tea? Sarah looked a bit hesitant, but there must have been something up. Fortunately, I had some built-up time off, so we decided to meet at a cafe during a weekday afternoon. When I got to the cafe, Sarah was already waiting, and she looked a bit under the weather. If you weren't feeling well, we could have rescheduled. You okay? Yeah, I'm fine. There's just something I really wanted to tell you today. I wondered what she wanted to tell me that was so urgent. What is it? What's going on? I'm pregnant. I wanted to tell you first, Catherine. Knowing how Sarah had previously mentioned wanting to get married and have kids soon, this was great news. Congratulations! Your boyfriend knows, right? He seems busy recently. I haven't told him yet. But I need to find the right moment. Maybe marriage will be next. This string of good news was truly uplifting. I'm looking forward to meeting Sarah's baby. Feeling joyous after the good news, I headed home. With Bob coming home late these days, I figured it'd be a solitary celebration for me. I bought some snacks for one on my way home, planning to have a joyous drink by myself. But to my surprise, Bob was already home. If you're coming home early, please let me know. Should I whip up something for dinner for you? No need. Catherine, I need to talk to you. Bob, me too. It's about Sarah. Cutting me off, what he held out in front of me was a business card for a divorce attorney. Is this some sort of prank? What's this about? I've been so busy with work lately, and I feel bad constantly causing you trouble. I really want to focus on my career and become a full-time employee. Bob spoke softly, avoiding eye contact. If that's the case, I want to support you even more. But divorce? Why? I just can't handle it anymore. I think it's time we both move on. He handed me a business card for a divorce attorney, and I was so taken aback that I couldn't think straight. The happiness from Sarah's pregnancy announcement felt like it was ripped away in an instant. Wait a minute. Did I do something wrong? No, it's just my own selfish wish to focus on my work. I'm sorry. Where did that happy feeling go? Is it because work is too demanding? He doesn't want to bother me anymore? Overwhelmed by the unexpected turn of events, and perhaps overexerting myself, I started to feel unwell. I haven't been sick lately, but I've been feeling off. Once I'm fully recovered, I want to sit down and talk with you, Bob. I had some work left unfinished and was a bit hesitant, but I knew I couldn't perform well in such a terrible state. I discussed it with my boss and decided to leave work early in the afternoon. When I finally got home, I felt someone's presence in the house, even though nobody was supposed to be there. I hadn't told Bob about my feeling ill and leaving early. I thought Bob had work today. I haven't heard anything about him working from home. I didn't want to startle anyone and thought maybe it was just my imagination. But when I opened the front door, I saw a pair of women's high heels. Seeing those unfamiliar heels lined up in the corner, I had a bad feeling. Could it be that his sudden talk of divorce yesterday was because he was cheating? I approached the living room door silently, trying not to make a sound. From beyond, I heard voices conversing. Is that Bob's voice? And you've got to be kidding me? The voice speaking with Bob was unmistakably that of Sarah, someone I knew well. I've conveyed my intention to divorce, so all she has to do is agree and communicate with my attorney. But what if, Bob, you end up looking like the bad guy, everything comes out, and it's spread around at the office? Sarah whispered, but Bob, maybe feeling overly confident, replied loud enough for me to hear. No worries there. I told her it's hard for me with my busy work schedule. Oh, I see. So you explained it's for her own good and it's better to get a divorce. Smart move. Bob was probably being egged on by Sarah. I could even hear Bob's heavy breathing through the door. Yep. After years of working in the public sector, you learn to handle people. She probably hasn't caught on, always thinking about work. True. When we had coffee the other time, she was always talking about her job and sales performance. By next year, I should be a regular employee, which means better pay and a better education for our kids. Bob's currently a contract worker. And it's not guaranteed that he'll become a regular employee. But he seems to think it's already in the bag. My ex-boyfriend got crushed by his toxic job, still dreaming of becoming a lawyer. I kept telling him to get a move on. But meeting you made it all worthwhile. I was momentarily confused by Sarah's words. I knew Sarah had a boyfriend, and I had met him a few times. Hold on. Did Sarah break up with her boyfriend? But what about her recent pregnancy announcement? I hadn't heard about Sarah's breakup. You'd assume the pregnancy news would be about her boyfriend. But now, the voices I'm hearing are Sarah's and Bob's. Could the baby be Bob's? I was filled with disbelief, but just standing there wasn't doing me any good. Stealthily, I took out my smartphone and pressed the record button. It might be useful evidence later on. This is ridiculous. I won't let them get away with it. I felt that unless they got what they deserved, I wouldn't be able to move forward. But it'd be futile for me, an amateur, to confront them directly. I should probably consult a professional. It seemed their conversation was over, and they were now casually watching TV. At least with this conversation as potential evidence, I might be safe if things go south. I remembered the sign for a law firm I'd seen during my sales rounds, thinking I'd get advice from them before deciding my next steps. Now, what should I do about those two? I gotta make a call first. I left the house trying not to make a noise and dialed as I walked. Briefly explaining my situation over the phone, they said they had an open slot and could see me immediately, so I headed straight to the law office. It was my first time visiting a law office. While it's a common setting in TV dramas, I never thought I'd have a reason to be there myself. Nervously, I pushed open the door to the office, only to be greeted by an unexpected face. Steve? Long time no see. What brings you here? Isn't that Catherine, Sarah's younger sister? Been a while. I was the one who answered your call, but I didn't recognize your voice. There stood Steve, Sarah's boyfriend. I'd met him a couple of times before when Sarah introduced us. He was a struggling student, always looking worn out. He looked quite different now. Last time I saw you, Catherine, I was failing my bar exams, wasn't I? I was taken aback. Why are you here? Steve scratched his head, looking a bit embarrassed. I finally passed the bar exam and landed a job. Congratulations. You've changed so much, I barely recognized you. Oh, you're making me blush. Anyway, what's the reason for your visit to the law office? From the looks of it, Steve had no idea. I hesitated, then showed him the video and explained Bob and Sarah's affair. How Bob suddenly wanted a divorce, how Sarah told me she was pregnant. And how I found out about their affair and the true paternity of the child in Sarah's belly. And that Sarah had referred to Steve as her ex-boyfriend. I get it. I'd been out of work for a while and felt like I was being a burden to Sarah. I'm sorry to spring this on you like this. Steve looked deeply conflicted. Her ex, huh? Do you still see Sarah, Steve? I used to, but she's been avoiding me lately. I thought it was weird. Then it dawned on me that Sarah and Steve had drifted apart. I was focused on my bar exams, and Sarah said she was busy with work, so I didn't press. You really didn't know anything, Steve. About my sister or about the pregnancy? Yeah. She told me we might not see each other for a while, so once I settled into this job, I was planning to check in. Steve looked torn between his position as Sarah's boyfriend and his professional responsibility as a lawyer. With the evidence you have, it might work, but it's best to get more solid proof before coming to us. I thought the same. This might not be strong enough. Then, Steve gave me some invaluable advice. There's a private investigator we work with. Why don't you try hiring them? Steve was right. Charging ahead with just this evidence, I might only get a paltry settlement. Worst case, I might not get anything at all. If you recommend them, Steve, I'll hire the investigator. I can't just let this slide either. It might be a bit roundabout, but I decided to hire the detective agency Steve recommended and gather more concrete evidence. A few days later, after they'd collected a surprising amount of evidence, even Steve said it looked promising for my case. I called Bob and Sarah separately for a diner a few days later. I told Bob I wanted a final review of the divorce papers, and I told Sarah I had a gift for the baby. All right, you both know why we're here, don't you? Bob and Sarah realized they'd been called separately. They looked uneasy for a moment, but then regained their composure. I've got a doctor's appointment later, so can we make this quick? You're in a position to say that? Do you even realize what you've done? As Sarah gaped at me, Bob glared. I rushed out of work because you said it was a final review of the divorce papers. Enough's enough. Shouldn't you be more worried about something else? I pointed at Sarah's belly. Whose baby is in Sarah's belly? Well, it's obviously Steve's. You know Catherine's been seeing him too, right? They've been talking about it possibly happening soon. So, which part of the divorce papers do you want me to check? I placed the investigation report I had commissioned from a detective on the table. Stop playing games. The detective found out that the baby is Bob's. Who said that? Stop joking around. Sarah looked at me, snickering through her nose. I even have a photo of the two of them going to the hospital together. Explain this. Oh, so that's how it is. What's with that face? For some reason, Bob was grinning smugly. She's pregnant, so we're divorcing. But Bob works for an organization. He's part-time now, but he could become a full-time employee. It's not stable. I don't want to make a child suffer because of money. Sarah leaned into Bob, speaking in a sweet voice. It's probably because you're not feminine enough. Always about work, work. I don't know about your good salary or bonuses, but don't get too cocky. We haven't filed for divorce yet. Do you think it's fair to hurt someone else, then just because you're having a child, you get married and live happily? It can't be helped. It's not Sarah's child's fault. You never said you wanted a child, did you? I like kids. A moderate amount of work is just right for me. I didn't expect Bob to justify himself. So, it's about Sarah? I met with Catherine's family a while ago, and Sarah came to my office for work. I felt like it was fate, you know? That's not a good reason at all. You cheat, have a child, and then say bye-bye? That's not gonna work. Bob still seemed confident, as if he had the upper hand or was trying to dominate the conversation. You probably wouldn't understand, being so tomboyish. A sweet woman like Sarah will probably give birth to a cute girl. Men are more stable, huh? Working part-time while struggling as a student is so out of style. And aiming to be a lawyer? That's a pipe dream. Makes me laugh. I took a deep breath and sighed softly. I can't believe my husband and my own sister think like this. Is that all you have to say? You're adults, clean up your own mess. We'll discuss further through our lawyers. Money, money. So annoying. Be grateful I'm considering divorcing you sooner. Sooner? You cheat for no good reason and then want a one-sided divorce? That's not gonna fly. I've also consulted a lawyer, so we'll settle things soon. I raised my hand slightly, and Steve walked in from the back. Steve knew the situation, but hearing it from the horse's mouth seemed to have shocked him. I never knew Sarah was like this. I understand now that you've been mocking me even when I was struggling or studying. It was just a joke. You're taking it seriously? Well, it is what it is. I'm just doing my job. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just acting based on the fact that our client, Catherine, has filed a claim for property division. The word "doing my job" seemed to momentarily darken Sarah's expression. Huh? Job? What do you mean? Stop lying. I passed the bar exam this year and I'm currently working at a law firm while training. Sarah seemed momentarily lost for words, but the damage was done. I wanted to properly discuss this with Sarah and talk about our future when the time was right, but now I'm just shocked. You should have told me sooner if you became a lawyer. What did you expect me to say? That you'd act like your affair never happened and just slide back into your old life with me? Steve looked like he was about to explode. It felt foolish to have trusted someone with such thoughts, his face seemed to say. After all, isn't all this because you were too focused on your studies and your dream of becoming a lawyer, and you neglected Sarah? Do you want to say it's my fault? You're sure you can make Sarah happy? Steve looked like he was at a loss for words. I have a stable job with an organization. Organizations like mine rarely go under. And I earn a decent salary, so I can make Sarah happy. All right then, I'll mail you the details of the property division amount later. Please check it. Upon hearing that a claim for property division was really being made, both Bob and Sarah were in a panic. Catherine, you already have enough money, don't you? Were your congratulations on your own sister's marriage a lie? That's right. I'm just working part-time right now, and I don't have much money. What about the dress I got for your birthday gift? Can't we just call it even with that? You can't just forgive a divorce over a single dress. How far will these two go to mock others? The audacity of you two. Having an affair and taking someone's husband as if it's no big deal. It's your fault for not keeping Bob's attention as his wife. You probably didn't even know that Bob actually prefers more feminine women, did you? What are you talking about? It's like saying it's the store's fault for getting robbed, not the thief. It doesn't matter if you're full-time or part-time, male or female. If you do something wrong, you have to pay for it. I quickly looked up the going rate for damages due to affairs and emotional distress on my smartphone and showed them a website with the amount. Well, if you were prepared for this, then I guess there's no helping it. Bob seems to be doing well in his reputable organization job, so you should be able to manage, right? Look, just because I work for an organization doesn't mean everything's set in stone. This amount. Don't you think you could give a little discount since you're partly to blame too? Bob looked up at me with pleading eyes, but I felt no need to show him mercy. I don't think so. I've done nothing wrong in my marriage with Bob. You're so self-righteous. Sure, living under the same roof, we might have inconvenienced each other at times, but having an affair with your wife's sister doesn't justify anything, nor does it give any reason to forgive you. The divorce papers were accepted without any issues, so thankfully, we were able to get divorced. I feel so relieved. Breaking up with someone like that was the right decision. Everything after the divorce went very swiftly. Steve couldn't be the main lawyer since he was still a rookie, but it seemed he did a lot of supporting work for the lead lawyer. Thanks to Steve introducing me to a very competent senior lawyer who specialized in divorce and affairs, I was able to finalize the divorce. Indeed, people who can truly empathize are different. Unlike some. By the way, things didn't go well for Sarah afterward. Around the same time as my divorce, her family found out about her deeds and disowned her. Moreover, Sarah, being a pretty good listener, had many friends. However, due to the incident, she lost touch with many of her longtime friends. One friend who had asked her many questions about her marriage had realized that Bob was my husband. In the end, the details got out, and she was labeled a homewrecker and shunned by many. Everyone's avoiding me. Isn't that terrible? Say something for me, Catherine. Why should I? After what you did, getting pregnant and stealing your sister's husband, what do you expect me to tell people? It's embarrassing. On the other hand, Bob's infidelity was the reason for our divorce. To make matters worse, word got out that he cheated with his sister-in-law, and it seemed he was feeling quite uncomfortable at work. Bob seemed to have assumed that he was gonna be made a permanent employee in the next reshuffling, but it seems the company decided they couldn't keep an employee around who was the subject of such wild rumors. After the divorce, we met once to discuss alimony, and it was a mess. What am I gonna do? I got fired. Oh, I thought it's hard to get fired unless you do something really big. Well, you made your bed, now lie in it. Given the kind of ethical violations he committed, it seems the company cleverly pushed him to resign voluntarily. I heard from a friend about an employee making a scene loud enough to be heard from the reception desk, and I was certain it was Bob. Can't you explain things for me? Hold on, explain what? It's baffling how you even think I could. Well, you know what they say, you can't put a lid on rumors. The story of a man who made advances on his sister-in-law and the woman who ended up having his child spread like wildfire. It seems both of them are almost unemployable now. I can't get a job anywhere. I have no money. I have nothing left. What should I do? Well, you have Sarah and your child, right? There's nothing I can do at this point. Just make sure you make amends. Now, wherever Bob goes, he's the talk of the town. Just hearing his name makes people grimace. I heard he's in a situation where he might not be able to stay in his hometown anymore. But he still has decades left on his mortgage, so he can't easily give up his home, and it seems he's living there despite all the talk. After divorcing Bob, I decided to focus on my career for a while. I've been more dedicated to my job than ever before. In my pursuit of further professional growth, I even started attending business school on my days off. Fortunately, while attending the business school, I met the CEO of a major corporation and got an offer to join them. I'm thrilled to be recognized as someone capable of working at such a prestigious company. What's even more gratifying is that I still have places where I can put my skills to the test. The company is quite large, and I'm expected to earn nearly twice my current salary, which is very appealing not only professionally but also financially. I'm really coming into my own as a salesperson. Seizing the opportunity to reach greater heights, I feel my life now is quite fulfilling.